Welcome to Turkey. I am in Izmir. It's spelled as our English would have it, Izmir, but they pronounce it Izmir. And this site right here is the ancient ruins of the ancient church of Smyrna, the city of Smyrna. And so I'm going to see what I can do to get in there in a little bit. But as I've been walking out here, take a look at my room. It's about in the neighborhood of $50 a night. Very nice room, although it's a standard hostel in that the bathroom is a separate, out, not inside the room itself. And it's a communal kitchen, but that's all right. I'm still able to make my own breakfast and supper, and that's what I love doing with those types of things. And then we'll take a look at a little bit of the walk out here this morning as well. I'm staying probably less than a half mile from the ruins of the ancient city, and so it's just a really nice little bunch of little alleyways, bunch of little places and stuff like this to take a look at too. Little things like that can be so cool to take photos of with the, I don't know, just the wall, the bench. Always some good items that I get excited about with photography. But of course, this is all new to me. I'm just flitting about. My eyes are going everywhere, just trying to take it all in. I ended up downloading a map to my Garmin Explorer app because my Google Maps isn't working. I usually get a local SIM when I travel to a place like this, but I tried for over 40 minutes last night at the airport to get one and they just weren't working. Basically, the entire cell network was out for two of the major carriers, and that also caused us to have significant delays in getting through customs. So I was right there at the front of the line when we got off the plane, and the whole system just shut down, and they didn't do anything about it for 2 hours. That was not fun. Even my Verizon International system just wouldn't work at all. So I was just like, I'll just download my map on Wi-Fi and I'll just navigate that way. This church here looks really interesting. I looked for a sign to try and tell us what it is, but I did not see something. There's a sign on the door around the corner that says, please knock the door. So I'm not gonna do that without knowing their opening hours or anything like that. All right, well, the ancient city is right over here. So I just need to walk around a little bit further to the entrance and we'll be able to get in. I'm here in Turkey because I'm doing a pilot project that I titled The 7 Churches of Revelation. I'm looking at the 7 churches from, let's see, it starts with Ephesus and goes on to Laodicea. My intent for this particular trip is to take a detailed look at the Church of Laodicea. And yes, it looks like this is actually open. Although it says visitors please use main entrance. I'm not sure how this is not the main entrance. This will help. Entrance. So I'm well on my way. So I'm here though at Smyrna because I landed here in Izmir last night and figured, well, hey, we got Smyrna here as well, and I might as well go ahead and take a look at it, at least a little bit if I can. So I have not done the deep study on Smyrna as I've done on Laodicea. And so this is purely a loosey-goosey sort of, as I kind of normally do things, approach with what I'm gonna find. Whatever I find is purely, who knows what I'm gonna find, and I'm just gonna enjoy the experience of discovering and understanding it as it unfolds. Let's get into this place. So after a €6 or 240 Turkish lira entrance fee, I'm into the ancient city grounds of Smyrna. It's interesting, they quote prices in euro, but then you have to pay it in Turkish lira. Anyway, there's a shop there that I want to go to because they're going to have some kind of, I'm sure, some kind of information that I'll be able to understand, read about and understand what all these places are about. And I'm almost feeling kind of bad now for not doing a study on what this place is about as it relates to the book of Revelation, because there were 7 of those churches. I don't know if I can remember them all, but it's Ephesus, Smyrna, and I will get them out of order: Sardis, Pergamum, Philadelphia, and then there's, of course, Laodicea, and then I'm missing one. I'll put it right down there. But each of these churches had a specific message that they were told through John the Revelator from Jesus. He's writing this, and it's basically the first thing that he talks about. Of course, he does his regular greeting and things like that, but then they go right off the bat saying, write this to the churches in Asia, basically. And Smyrna, of course, was one of them. I certainly know there was a lot of persecution by the Christians here, of the Christians here, and that was in part due to the fact that they refused to worship the emperor. Smyrna was one of those locations where they had a temple to the emperor dedicated to emperor worship. And so with that not being something they're going to partake in, of course, that automatically ostracizes them. And then the Jews in the area too, well, they didn't care for them so much, but they already had special dispensation from the government or the regular folk, whatever you want to call it, and they also aided in persecuting the Christians. Of course, the Christian church was extremely brand new. This is a new faith, a new everything. Of course, John is on the island of Patmos. He's writing to these people in these churches because they each have a specific message that they need to hear. And so that's what we're here to look at, to get a little more of that understanding, I guess is the best way to put it, of what it was about to write what these people were experiencing. And then maybe there's an application for today, of course, but knowing all of that stuff, how does that inform, or how does that influence the nature of the photographs that I'm looking to take and that I'm going to make? And so I know I can get into some of the other areas here, and I'm looking forward to doing that, but I'm seeing this little thing right here. This looks kind of interesting, and I'm thinking, since she told me the shop would open in about 5 minutes, I don't want to wander too far just yet. But take a look at this. I just really liked that archway. We got some grasses and other weeds and plant life, whatever, growing on top of that. But this little niche, this little cove or alcove, what do you want to call it, coming into this place, and then it's part of a bigger domed area. You can see here we have this section coming up. It would have been a domed area, and then the same thing over here in this section, it would have been a domed area. So this would have been some kind of, I don't know if we want to call it just a place to hang out, or just what it was. This place is kind of cool, as I'm always intrigued by ancient places like this, but with these archways that are still very much intact, and the flowing water, and just everything about it is really cool. But lots of cool stuff here. Let's walk on down the way. I've got another set of flowing water that's feeding this little, well, I don't know what to call it, like a trough anyway. I admit, certainly sometimes it's hard to get a good photograph, what we might consider a good photograph anyway, in a spot like this. Down there in the tunnels, what they call the basement of, I forget what they called it now, but anyway, I got a picture of the sign. When we're down there, it's really easy because of the geometry and the repetition and the patterns and the texture. All that stuff is really coming through in a really cool way. But when you're up on top like this, and you've got those columns over there, and the city in the background and all sorts of stuff. It just creates a bit of a chaotic environment to photograph, and it just really makes you have to work a little extra hard, which, hey, I'm all for that, nothing wrong with that. It's just something to note. And as I'm looking about here, there's just so many cool things. I really wish I could use my tripod, but trying to release myself of that and see what I can do anyway. I'm running a little bit higher of an ISO because of it. I've been so far running 400. Out here on top, I could easily take it down to 200, I think, and survive just fine. That's where the image stabilization really comes in and helps a whole lot. That's built into the lens, and I am definitely grateful for that. This is interesting. We've got some holes coming through the roof, as it were, of these tunnel areas. Oh, check this out. I always love a good ancient mosaic. I'm gonna be switching lenses and zooming in on some details, seeing what I can find here. That is for sure. All right, way more to come from Smyrna, but I need to put this camera away so I can focus on some more photography. There's lots of cool things here as we look over the top of those archways, as we come across and look at the capitals that are stacked here, and all this history, all this civilization sort of coming to life. I guess we can say in a way not really, but to see how they lived and to see some of the things that were just part of their everyday life. That's the kind of thing that really gets exciting in touring a place like this. Over here, where there's almost like a graveyard, I guess, of just these pieces. They're lined up and it looks kind of cool, and they're wonderful pieces, but making a good photograph of it as an artistic and a creative, meaningful photograph that speaks to the nature of the people, speaks to the ideals of what was going on at the time, is, well, that's why I'm here, to explore these opportunities and to figure this out. I mean, look at this one right here. That is such an interesting texture and an interesting pattern. I will absolutely be making something of this, and somehow, some way, I'll be using that pattern, whether in some other project or some other, I don't know how, but that is amazing, and I plan on using it for sure. I said it kind of felt like it was a bit of a graveyard. Well, there was a sign over yonder, and then these areas here, these are tombstones. This area, I think it said around the 7th century. This is the Agora. Around the 7th century, it started to basically become abandoned, and they moved out, but they then started using this space as a cemetery. And so we have some items still here as a cemetery. What I was initially talking about was just these other pieces that are just laying out here. Still something very interesting to me, just to experience and to see. But again, with the whole notion of, does that grass coming through make a good photograph? Not really. But to explore and to experience this, absolutely amazing and almost priceless, really. So grateful. I should mention, I'm here because I was awarded a faculty development grant by the Faculty Development Committee where I work, Walla Walla University. And so I'm grateful for the support. Let's see, they helped by covering airfare and lodging for this trip. It absolutely could not have happened without that support. So to be here taking a look at this stuff with the intent of increasing or bettering my opportunities as a teacher, whether it's the spiritual applications I can bring into the classroom or the artistic applications, the understanding of video production and how to tell the story about a place like this. These are the things that I'm trying to get better at, and that's the reason for my project. The 7 Churches of Revelation pilot project has me looking at Laodicea to begin with. So today is Tuesday. I'll be heading over to Laodicea, or Denizli, tomorrow, and then I'll get into Laodicea and Hierapolis, and I'm looking forward to, I might get up to or out to Colossae. They're all very close together, and I would love to get there as well, even though it's just a mound of grass really. But I'd love to be able to take a look at that biblical site as well. The lines and the texture and the careful carving, the smooth, rounded ones here versus the fluted styles. Of course, these things are thousands of years old now, and the weather is taking its toll on them. So my time here at Smyrna is almost up. I've covered pretty much everywhere that I can have access to, and it's just been really cool to sort of dip my toe in the waters of the 7 Churches of Revelation by visiting here with a somewhat, I'll call it a casual visit, more casual approach, because when I get to Laodicea, I want to be able to do a nice study on what the church is about, what the city is about, what the region and all that other good stuff is about. I just wonder if I'll be able to use the tripod there. I don't know. I guess we shall see. So we will finish it out here by taking a look at a few last pictures, and looking forward to pushing on in the next video as we look more at Izmir and looking at just wandering about and getting some other images as I do so. It is about 10 a.m. so I've got plenty of time for the day, and might even get back to the room some to rest a little bit since I'm still getting over jet lag. So that does it for now. Until next time, God bless and happy shooting.